here to talk about Ole Miss's most talked about recruiting class of the day. Please welcome John Talty from the Clarion-Ledger of Mississippi. Thanks for coming on, John.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I really enjoy your hotel. Let's start things right off with the #1 overall prospect, Robert Nkemdiche. Was there really any secret he was going to end up at Ole Miss?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, as soon as he decommitted from Clemson, earlier in the year, I think everybody kind of assumed that he was going to Ole Miss. And obviously Ole Miss had to do some work to land him. But I mean, in the past couple, months, really, it's pretty much been assumed that Nkemdiche was going to go to Ole Miss. And despite some, last-minute visits to Florida and LSU, I mean, Ole Miss has been pretty confident they were going to get him for a pretty long time.
Now, does former head coach Houston Nutt get any credit for this because he brought his brother in first?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think Denzel clearly played a pretty big role in terms of getting Robert. So, I mean, for Houston Nutt to bring in Denzel, and he was a guy that had some academic issues. A lot of schools kind of bailed on him, and Ole Miss stuck with him, the whole way through. And so for them to offer him a scholarship, Denzel ended up qualifying and getting him on campus was pretty big, and obviously played a big role in terms of landing Robert.
Hey, John, without Denzel, do you think you still sign Robert?
I don't think they do. I mean, I think you look at it this way. I think Denzel didn't guarantee Robert in any way. And Denzel's, their mom, Beverly, today said, that if she told Coach Freeze, that if you guys bring some excitement, I think you guys have a shot at Robert. But I don't think that Denzel guaranteed, Ole Miss getting Robert in any way. I think that they obviously had to do some serious work to get him. But on the flip side, I think if Denzel wasn't a part of the Ole Miss, program, I don't think there's any way that they can really get involved with, Robert. You had Alabama and Florida and LSU and Georgia and all these big programs on him. And Denzel provided that, that foot in the door for Ole Miss to get him. And without him, I just don't think Ole Miss would really have much of a shot, landing the #1 prospect in the country.
John, once Nkemdiche committed, I mean, it was like you just saw him starting to fall one after another. You had the best offensive tackle, Laramie Tunsil. Then you had 5-star safety Tony Connor. They've committed as well. But what is that going to do for expectations of this Ole Miss team? They were 7-6 last year. How much are people going to expect these guys to contribute right away?
Well, clearly, it's going to be a factor going forward. With having this past year going 7-6, winning a big game, your rivalry game against Mississippi State, and then getting a bowl win. People are pretty happy with that season. Especially given you're going to 10. Going forward, people are going to expect more. You bring in a top 10 consensus recruiting class. With Laramie Tunsil, you kind of Ole Miss went into really the Thunderdome. Battling Georgia and Alabama hand to hand. They were able to get Tunsil, the #1 offensive lineman, getting Nkemdiche and Laquan Treadwell from Chicago, and then getting Connor. There's so many big names, and there's no question the Ole Miss fan base is really hyped up right now. So it's going to put more pressure on Hugh Freeze to deliver, and I can that. The Ole Miss fan base, they're not going to be happy with a 6-6 season again. He's going to have to try to win, 8 or 9 wins, and in that SEC West, in which everybody is reloaded again this year, that's not an easy, task. It's going to be pretty tough and interesting to watch if they can make a jump up, especially given how tough their schedule is too. That first 7 games is a pretty tough gauntlet for Ole Miss.
Well, John, I know you've been through an absolute gauntlet. We're talking about 14 straight hours that you've been on, man. How tired are you? At least do you get tomorrow off?
Yeah, I've been going since 3 a.m. today, and I got a couple hours of sleep the night before, so it's been a long day. It's been an exciting day for Mississippi. Ole Miss landing Robert Nkemdiche, Mississippi State landing Chris Jones. It's been a big day, but I'm pretty exhausted at this point. I'm kind of getting ready to take a long hibernation and relax from recruiting for a little bit.
Let that be a lesson to you kids. No long benders before your biggest work day of the year. You can learn that lesson from John Talty of the Clarion-Ledger out in Mississippi, man. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys.